You're listening to Whispers of War.
Hello everyone and welcome to Whispers of War, show number 31. I'm your host Sil, and let's jump into how was my week in World of Warcraft. Not too bad. I'm still grinding away the reputations for my Alliance character, and I'm slowly getting where I need to be. I mean, I love the phone app. It just works so well for quickly doing this. Oh, okay, you know, I've finished the mission, get the reputation, because that's the only missions I really do, and just go to the next one. So as long as I have resources, I can do this. So I'm almost there for the reputation lock to get me to the next phase for the war campaign on the Alliance side. Just a little bit. I think with one or two more quests I can actually do it if I would do dailies, but I don't. So I'm just biding time. I did do a war front, and that also helps. I actually got some gear upgrades for my druid, which is really nice. I should really do that on my rogue as well and just try to gear her up even more, because at the moment she's my best geared character, but the druid is not far behind. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying playing both of these characters, but as always I'm also leveling a ton of alts, but I'll get back to that. So I am now halfway through Stormsong Valley. I say halfway, but you know what questing is like in World of Warcraft. You think, oh yeah, I'm almost done, and all of a sudden, you know, you pick one quest up, hand it in, bam, 10 others all of a sudden appear around you. So I'm still running around through Stormsong Valley. I do like it. I like the looks of the area. I like the fact that it's phased at times. That's really, really good. And the general story so far is really, really interesting. So I'm having a good time, but I sometimes want it to be already done so I can focus on other things. I know I should just stop and then do those other things, but you know, I'd like to finish something before moving on to the next thing. It's a terrible habit. So I've done that. Enjoying it so far. I also jumped onto my rogue because I was a guest on Half Hill Report, the special edition, and I RP'd as my character. I held the interview as my blood elf, and you should, not because it's me, but you should definitely listen to the special editions. They, you know, if you haven't done so yet, they are so much fun just to hear the players talk as their characters. I, as a role player, really am enjoying it, and you know, the guys are so great at interviewing and getting into character. I'm absolutely loving this podcast. And if the special editions are a bit longer than their normal show, even though I think they have longer episodes for the normal show, but just listen to them all. Download them all, do yourself a favor and just listen to it. It's really unique and so much fun. So go and listen and download the Half Hill Report. So I actually, for them, I wanted to get them a screenshot of my character with a troll. So there I was as my blood elf running around Zuldazar trying to find some troll players. And people must have thought I was a bit creepy stalking them, and I'm pulling that selfie camera out to take a selfie, but I managed to do it. So that is all there, and yeah, just enjoyed myself. I was debating transferring more characters, I'm not going to lie. I thought after 5, you know what, then maybe that's enough, because it's still a lot of money, but I was so tempted to transfer the last 4 that I have, that I could have on my home server, and then I thought, is it really worth like 50 something quid to transfer them, or shall I just level the old-fashioned way? And considering my current situation, my real life situation, I feel like it would be smarter just to level them the old-fashioned way. As much as I sometimes despise it, I have to do it. You know, I guess it'll keep me busy in a way, and transferring one character and then another, it's a slippery slope. So that's why I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to transfer anymore. So I'm hoping that the discount will soon disappear, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's what I've also been doing with all of that. I did start to level my my alts, especially the ones that need heirlooms. Or not heirlooms. What is it? The ones that get the heritage gear. That's it. So I actually jumped onto my Void Elf again, my warrior. I really am enjoying that. I love warrior. I didn't realize I would love it so much. Same with the paladin. I am really, really enjoying that as well. And now I'm a little bit like, I have to get them all in my Alliance Guild. And I don't know how you guys feel about that when you're like a proper alcoholic. And I feel really bad. So I was poking like this lovely officer that we have in the guild. And I said, could I just ask you to invite this alt to the guild? This is me, blah, blah, blah. Can you also, can I get a few more? And there's this running joke with this officer that as long as it's not a mage, it's fine. So every time I whispered this officer, I went like, still not a mage, so can this all join? I do have a mage somewhere, which needs to go into the guild, but so far it was a running joke, and I managed to get 4 or 5 alts in the guild, but I still have like tons left, and I don't want to be that person who goes, can you invite this one? Can you invite this one? Oh, and this one, and this one. I think at a certain point, you know, I'll just wait, I'll bide my time, and then I'll bother them again. Even though I never got the feeling that I was bothering them, they're just lovely, so at least I have a few in there now that I can start leveling again for the heritage gear. And that's really it. That's what I did in World of Warcraft. Just bantering with the guild and just having a good time messing about with my druid. Really, yeah, it's been good. I'm enjoying myself so much so that I haven't really touched any other games, which is kind of like bad. I know, you know, from a World of Warcraft point of view, podcast kind of stuff, it's not. But I have so many games that I still want to play and still want to try out, so it's a little bit like my to-be-read pile that I have here with books. I think it's not really a pile, it's more like 2 bookcases. I'm calling it my collection. It's not hoarding, it's just a collection, so I'm collecting books. That's how I see it. Perhaps I'm also collecting games now. Yeah. But that's what I keep telling myself. The lie will continue to live on that way. Other than that, I've had some wonderful interviews this week, and I'm going to leave you with one that I really, really enjoyed. It's a returning guest, the lovely Frazley. So if you want to hear more about this now, then stay tuned, and I will come back after the interview. And with me today, I have another returning guest, which I'm really, really happy about. Welcome back, Frazley.
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm glad that you put the mic at the right level, because I was on the halfway report and I had to readjust the mic because it was too high.
No, I'm like, I love having you on again because I love listening to your show. For those who, you know, maybe have heard of the name Frazley, but they're not quite familiar with you, can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do on the internet, all that kind of stuff?
I'm just a person who loves to game. I like learning about people, getting to connect with people. So if you've seen me online, you probably have seen me trying to be encouraging and like trying to help people. And one thing I wanted to do is connect with the amazing community we have at Blizzard. There's a certain part of the community. So that's when I decided to start podcasting. And first I thought I was just going to talk about games. No, it's the people. It's the people we have on, and getting to meet people every time and learn more about them. That's that true story. I told somebody that WoW is like the binding agent in cauliflower pizza. You need oatmeal to keep it together, but then you can use cauliflower to then have no guilt, and then you can have the amazing sauce. I just probably turned off a lot of people by saying cauliflower pizza.
Well, maybe yes or no. I'm not entirely sure. Or maybe people are really curious now.
Yeah, but like gaming is what brings us together. I mean, what's interesting is our lives are probably very different in real life, but we come together through a game, and that's that weird thing. It's amazing to realize we have such diverse background. I mean, just talking even beforehand about language, we have different languages. We live across the globe. I mean, thankfully we have the ability to communicate in a very low latency way, but it's still amazing the fact that I've never met you except in game and Discord and stuff like that.
I know. It's just, it almost seems like borders, even though we are dealing with Brexit at the moment, but, borders are starting to just disappear, I think, when it comes to the internet.
And what's amazing is, like, you used to have people in the same room for a podcast. Now you can have people across the world. And that's the fascinating thing, is I learn from hearing other people's perspectives. And I've always loved psychology, sociology. I'm doing a communications major, so mine's about the art of communication. But communication's not the exact art of advertising. It's the act of engaging with people, transferring a value that you have to show how what you have to offer can help somebody in some way. That whatever product or service or organization you're part of, what can it do for other people, and what can that person do for other people? And even leadership has been one of the things. My goal is to find the ways to help people be the best that they can be, because everybody has a gift and an ability, and it's all about being encouraged by people. I've been encouraged by so many people throughout my life that I want to be that same encouraging to other people.
I really like that way of thinking. That's really, really nice.
It's what brings me motivation in my life. I did a motivated ability study, and my biggest moments have been when I'm performing in front of an audience, but not for my own ego. And it's been for, does somebody get something from what I did? It also helps keep my ego in check, because I can get a big ego, and it's one of those really trying to stop that.
I think, not to insult any podcasters, because it's not like that, but I think every podcaster out there has to have somewhat of an ego, just because, you are producing something and you are putting your voice out there on the internet for everyone to listen to. So it is very much centered around the podcaster. It's like
thinking, we all think, well, our crap doesn't stink, and all of a sudden, like, you go to the bathroom, like, but yeah, it does, absolutely. We aren't as good as we think.
No, true. Very true. So you doing a lot of podcasts. Do you want to talk a little bit about your podcasts that you are doing? I also know that you're on Twitch, because now and again I jump into your chat room when I see you online.
Yeah, I do the Twitch to learn how to do live broadcasting. I learned how to do. Tosh helped me figure out what the name of it was, but extemporaneous speaking. So when I'm talking to you right now, Twitch has really helped me with that. It's helped me think on my feet and going with it. But it was an offshoot of starting the podcast. So, like, Frazley is my podcast where I talk with different guests every week. I want to introduce the audience to different people throughout. I want to get to know the guests as well. And it's not really gaming news. We'll discuss gaming news, but I try to be like, every week, what's a topic we can discuss and have fun with? And just every week, you never know what you're going to get, because it's all going to be hopefully World of Warcraft. There were times I didn't have World of Warcraft discussed at all, and I've tried to stay back on that. And then I do the Frazley report, which is just I wanted to experiment with, like, short form audio and, like, fiction and stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. Every week trying to think, okay, how can I turn something that's happening in Blizzard and World of Warcraft into a topic that might be in Azeroth or around Azeroth, and I can just, every week, I never know what I'm going to get. I never know what's going to happen. Like 1 week we had somebody who was parodying a conspiracy theorist and talking about how people were DDoSing them for the Mage Tower, and that was just like, I never would have expected that. One episode we were trying to investigate, where did Mr. Smite go? So, I mean, just it's fun on that show. It's very short, but I can just do whatever I want every week, and then see what sticks. And then the final one is it's called Be Great Today, and that one is every week I realize I'm always learning. I'm always finding something that's helped me. What if something in my life could help somebody else? So I try to find an anecdote of what's going on. What am I struggling with? and kind of talk about it. And then what's interesting is the dialogue that happens from it. I hear from people either how it helped them, or people will talk with me. And sometimes I don't even realize people are listening to it, but what I mentioned in the episode will come up in discussion somewhere. So it's not, I'm not trying to say that I'm a self-help guru or anything like that. I don't like this, because I'm not the smartest person out there. I've got my limits on what I know, but at least maybe I can share what I'm thinking and try and be like, how can I give someone an application? So that's probably a show that some weeks I feel like I have nothing to say, but then I find somebody who said that something I said helped them in some way.
Well, that's really rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's given me the ability to look at life. I would not say positive, because life's not positive, but life has its goods and bads, but it's helped me look at life in a more encouraging way. How can I struggle with something? Like there was one morning I woke up and our mailbox was destroyed. A drunk driver had run into our mailbox, almost run into the post where my room was. I mean, I could have died in my sleep.
God. But
it made me realize, and that's going to be a upcoming episode at some point, but it made me realize, life is short. I need to value life. I need to, you never know what's going to happen. So it made me take a negative event and be like, you know what was going on in that person's life? How can I help that person? How can I maybe connect with somebody who's going through something like that? Because that person was probably going through a lot in their life. And I'm like, what if I could have been in their life to prevent them from driving drunk? Mm-hmm. So it's made me think, what action can I take? I don't want to say I don't want to say I'm altruistic or noble, because again, I've got my weaknesses, I've got my flaws. My friends and family can tell you every one of my flaws.
I think we all have that, but at least, with that kind of like turning that negative experience into something positive, at least, that's I think a good outlook on life, for anything really. Where do you see yourself go with the podcasts in let's say 5 years time?
That's a good question, because I can't believe I'm already 2 years into this. I mean, I think following where gaming's going, I'm hoping to still be in WoW, but I can already see that the podcast they'll grow with me the same way that I've grown. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking better. My speech patterns are getting better. I'm getting better at talking off the cuff. I still stutter sometimes, but it's getting better. And it's one of those, podcasting is going to grow with me. In 5 years, I could be talking general tech if we're not doing WoW. But again, I still plan to do WoW. But I can probably see more podcasts as I go along in the future. Just something I've got the bandwidth for. That's my only issue.
That I think everyone struggles with that, don't we?
And one that I'm interested in is I'm looking at ways to hopefully teach podcasting, either free or paid. I don't think I'm good enough to do the paid at this point, but who knows? But what I want to do, I want to encourage people to podcast, because some of my best friends have started podcasting. I mean, Ali started podcasting. I don't know if I influenced you to podcast, because I know you podcast before, but you're on episode 30. I want to do what I can to encourage people who want to start podcasts or are podcasting. I want to share the knowledge that I've gotten. So I think I'm going to at some point move to being a podcast encourager or teacher. I mean, I just got invited to speak at a podcast meetup near me. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Well, I better start thinking about what you want to say.
Yeah. Thankfully, my dad can help me work through all what I'm saying, because he does speeches and stuff like that. And I can say, hey, here's one of my ideas. Can you help me with that? Because public speaking is one of my fears, which is weird because I'm in front of a podcast. But I'm behind the mic, so I'm a little bit more comfortable.
I think a lot of people, as it's difficult. I think that first hurdle is actually talking to someone over the internet, or just talking and having to listen to yourself back, because that's also a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And then it's, once you actually, I think that's where Twitch is really good, because you're actually putting yourself, not everyone does it, but some people, put themselves on screen. That's another hurdle, because that, let's face it, I stream now and again on Twitch. People can be incredibly toxic.
Oh yeah.
And you can ban them. There's nothing wrong with that. There is that possibility, but you will at times be confronted with people like that. So I think it's a good like medium step to, after that, talk in front of a crowd. The thing is, when you talk in front of a crowd, people are there to actually come and listen to you. So that's a little bit easier than Twitch, I think, at times.
And I definitely can't speak to, I don't have the unfortunate thing where I'm not female, so I don't have those people who are being complete jerks and this is where someone would put in being a hole and stuff like that. I don't have that part, but I have had people criticize what I do, or like I got a lazy eye. So it's weird even for me, people criticize things but I've learned to not care what people think. I mean, there are days it hurts, or there are days that it can hurt. But then there are days I'm like, hey, I've got people who do like what I do, and I'm going to focus on them. And yeah, I've banned a few people, and I have one person that we will share names every once in a while. We'll explain why we banned this person, and then we'll both ban that person.
And I think that's good, I think being on the internet, I think people still need to be held responsible for their behavior with a lot of things. And that's the problem, I think, with the internet nowadays. I'm not going to go on my granny chair just to say this, but I do feel like because people are behind a screen or an avatar, that they don't, they feel like there's no consequences in their behavior.
Yeah, and
not big ones, at least.
That's actually one reason I'm glad that I'm podcasting and streaming. Mm-hmm. I'm teaching myself that my actions have consequences. I'm teaching myself that what I say has impact. I've been watching influencers online being like, anybody has influence. I know the term influencer is it can be negative, but everybody has impact. And podcasting and streaming has taught me my words have value. I mean, in real life sometimes I won't say stuff because I don't want to edit my word. In my head, I don't want to edit my words, but I want I want what I say to matter.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's very important. Okay, let's roll this back to World of Warcraft, because that is both a big thing in our podcasts, both our podcasts and our lives. What is your current main character? What class do you play? What race?
My current main character is a gnome warrior named Fraz.
Okay, why did you pick warrior?
I picked warrior because I've always liked the idea of the sword. I'm not as much the board for the shields because I don't tank, but I like that sword that you can attack things. You don't have to worry about healing other people or yourself. So I mean, in a way, it's selfish because I'm like, I'll let the healers do it all, but I at least gotta damage the enemy.
Okay, and how come a gnome?
A gnome. I'm 6'6", and I don't like my height. Which is really weird. I talked to somebody yesterday who's short in real life, or at least they call themselves short, and they like being a tall worgen. I like being a short gnome. I mean, it's letting me understand perspectives, and it's letting me be something that I wish I was in real life.
That's why it is a fantasy game, that I can see a lot of people choosing that just because it's so different from normal.
And one thing I love about the gnome that I've realized, gnomes get laughed at sometimes unfortunately, but gnomes sometimes don't care. Gnomes just go at life. Gnomes have an optimistic look at life, even if gnomes make mistakes, and I make a lot of mistakes. I just like that we'll make mistakes throughout our lives. We'll do things will blow up on our faces. We're not like goblins, so at least things don't. We're not intentionally making things explode. But we want life to be better. We want our friends to have fun. So it fits my quirky attitude of trying to be encouraging while walking through the kitchen and stubbing your toe.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you say, you and I, we've talked, I think about a half a year ago, perhaps?
Yeah.
What has changed in game for you in those 6 months? I mean, we'll talk about how you're finding the game in a minute, but what has changed? Have you shifted your focus on what you're doing, or?
Yeah, my biggest shift has been I'm definitely doing like alts and things like that, trying different. I'm still doing the trophies and collecting, but I'm also doing like, I call it stream fodder. I'm doing things that are perfect for when you're on stream. So I now I'm working toward my 4th 120. So
okay.
Back that I had 120, and I didn't know if I was going to roll horde. I thought I was going to all one character. Now I have a lot of alts, and I'm running into the issue of you have to know what alts where. So I've still got alts that are but I'm doing a lot of different things now in game, and I'm finally okay with not raiding. I've struggled for a couple years at not being able to raid due to time or not being able to commit. Now I'm like, hey, I'll let my friends raid. I'll have them on the podcast to talk about raiding and stuff like that. But I'm enjoying what I want to do, and then I still offset that with like other games. So if there's a day I'm not feeling WoW, I'll go into another game. Like I'm playing Little Nightmares, which is a creepy game. Tom got me into that game. I'm actually one day going to rename my Twitch playing games Tom's played, because he's played another game now, Mars Underground, that I want to play.
I've heard. Can I? If you are into creepy games, my go-to game has always been Alien Isolation.
Oh, I need to write that down, because I'm always liking games, because I'm finding what's fun with horror is the stream will let me still play, because if I play a horror game by myself, I will turn it off within 5 minutes. But if I tell a stream that I'm going to keep playing, I will keep playing. And there was a time in Little Nightmares where I was like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm like, I'm so terrified. But I kept at it, and we got through it. And somebody told me yesterday they were watching and laughing, and every time that I was getting scared and screaming like a 3-year-old, I was like, perfect. If you got laughter, I did my job. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, just to derail a little bit, but horror games are the best for that, because I love watching people play horror games. I think, Little Nightmares is a great one. What I had with Alien Isolation, because I tend to not play it for 1 or 2 years, and then I have to think again, okay, so I can't really remember where to go, what to do. So it's still new again every time. And the thing is with that game, if you are familiar with the Alien franchise, you see in this game, the black tail is a telltale, no pun intended, sign of where the alien is. And so you're hiding, and you see the tail just drag by now and again. And my cat, I have a black cat, and she has a tendency to jump on the top of my chair. So we were in a really intense part, and I saw from the corner of my eye that she was going to jump. I thought, that's fine, I'm not going to respond. She jumps, and her tail is in the camera view, and it just flicks around really slowly, and people were almost screaming on my chat going, oh my god, that scared me, I thought there was an alien behind you.
I was just laughing and also cringing, because I could just picture what's going on too. Oh, that is awesome. That
was really cool. That she's my little streaming buddy now when stuff like that happens. But now I think I think Twitch is a great thing for if you want to play games, because viewers, when you have the right viewers, can really push you with that. So that's especially when it comes to World of Warcraft, when it gets a bit stale for some people. When you're actually streaming, certain mundane things like I would say transmog runs or achievements or I guess even mount runs and leveling, that can become so much more fun when you have the right people watching you, and it can push you. So yeah, no, good on you.
And there have been so many times where somebody will bring up a joke or something like that, or I will try to make the audience facepalm. That's become one of my big things is the facepalm. And I love getting reactions from people, as long as they laugh. I mean, I don't like the negative reactions from people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the problem, isn't it? With anything that you do in a live environment, there will always be some people who basically like to shit on your day. And I think it's, thank God we have bans for that. And
absolutely.
at least, as long as you still enjoy yourself. But I think coming back to that whole, podcasting and then that it breaks borders and talking to people. I think Twitch has its place as well, or streaming if you do it over YouTube or anything that's out there. The fact that you can actually watch someone, in like the USA or in Europe or wherever, that you can watch them play a game is just really, really nice. And that you can see, so what's this person doing? And yeah, I like stuff like that. I'm happy that we are in that kind of position right now.
Yeah, and that it's so easy that like there's not that latency again, that it's very minimal between all that stuff. I mean, it probably has to be like the last 5 years that it really became good, because there was a time where Twitch was always known for being down and lagging. Now it's still some of that, but some of that's ISPs nowadays. But it is amazing. We take for granted what we have nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. I think you see that a lot with, and again, this is, I guess, on my granny chair. You see that with a lot of young people, that they don't realize, you have never suffered dial-up internet, people.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I was talking with somebody who looked up probably illicit imagery on 56K, and they said it took a long time for that.
Yeah, when you wanted to download a picture, and it was like, okay, well, I'll come back in an hour. And then,
yes, absolutely.
And it cost a fortune just to see. Yeah, no, I remember those days. I'm so happy that we're progressing. So I'm happy for the younger generation that they don't have to experience that pain. But yeah, that's good. It's good that you're venturing into different things into game. How are you finding the game at this point in time? Because at this point of recording, 8.1.5 has been out now for I think 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. Maybe it's less. I'm very bad at remembering stuff like that. But a lot of two minds. Some people go, I don't know why I'm still here. Other people go, this is the best it has been. This was such a great patch. How do you feel? How are you finding the state of the game at the moment?
For me, I'm still enjoying it, but I'm not pushing for hardcore. I'm not pushing for raid, and I've only done one wing of LFR because I had to do it for a quest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm enjoying still that side, and I'm finding there's still stuff in the game I want to find. I mean, I need to do paragons. I still need to work on my horde side to get that 2 sides of every tail achievement.
Mm-hmm.
So I've still got a huge amount of things to do, and I'm trying to find time to get it all done, knowing that 8.2 will be hitting PTR probably in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we're not that far from that, and that's going to bring along another dungeon. It's going to bring along the quest line for the mecha gnomes, and it's going to bring along another story questing area with the Nazjatar. So for me, I'm not at a loss for stuff. I would say the only thing I absolutely agree with is that Azerite armor, other than getting a new thing and every once in a while picking up another trait when I get new armor, it's not appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard hopefully that'll feel more impactful in 8.2, that they've redesigned items. But yeah, I'm looking at the game in the long term. I'm looking at where are we going to be going in the next couple of years, because I'm going to be playing the game for the long term. I'm going to be podcasting for the long term and streaming on it. So if I got a couple months where we don't have a lot to talk about other than the fact we discussed pants last night and talked about the transmog, and that was our big WoW discussion topic, I'm fine with that, because I'm there's still so much for me to do. I still need to farm in half pill. I still need to do all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. I think pacing yourself does not bode like a bad thing at this point in time in game. I think the problem is that some people really rush through everything, and then you are going to start running out of things. Even though there is so much to do, but if there's a certain thing that's what you enjoy, like for instance, like for myself, I love everything with story. So if I rush through everything, at a certain point I'm going to run out of content if I've done it all. So I think it's a good thing if people pace themselves a bit, or you find other things to do. So
like other games, there's one thing I'm doing. And this year, one of my goals is by the end of the year, I want Lore Master. So I think going along even on the alts, I tell myself, what zones have I not done? I finally have Lore Master of Kalimdor. So now I'm going through, but it's giving myself a goal and a thing to strive for.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. I did that in the past, and it will keep you busy.
Yeah, and then after that, then I got to do the Insane in the Membrane. I'm a Bloodstone Admiral, but then I need the Insane title. I mean, there's still more things to do, and that would be perfect because then I could be on a stream and just farm and talk with chat.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's the perfect time to do things that are very monotonous in game. I think because then you can start talking to people. It's perfect.
Yeah, the one thing I will never do is I will never podcast and play WoW because one of the two will get my priority, and it probably won't be the podcast.
Yeah, I think you see that a lot with people who stream and then they do raiding. They hardly talk to the chat, which is understandable because they have to focus on what's going on and everything, and they're talking to their guildies or group about strategies and things, and they're communicating with them. So you can see that at that point in time, it's not really entertainment. It's really just watching people progress. So no, I think you're right. One will get more priority at that point in time. So if you really want to talk more to your audience, doing something that's a little bit more simple, almost, would work a lot better.
And if you want to do the raid, do LFR, because then nobody really cares in LFR.
Exactly. No one cares about LFR anyway, what you do. Just don't die too early. And if you die really early, then you can talk more. and
ignore raid chat. I've learned in Pugs, I take whatever the party chat says with a grain of salt. That's the biggest thing is I take more weight with what guildies and friends say than I do with randoms. I still remember with the priest named Baby Mama and the pug who told me that my DPS was worse at 110 than their 103 warrior. I'm like, but I'm never gonna meet you again.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone is like a keyboard warrior in LFR.
Yeah.
The only time I will say something is I feel like someone is being victimized, like completely and utterly. Then I will not take it to the raid chat because that will just be like pouring more gas on the fire. I will whisper that person and just go, if I think it was unreasonable what's being said, then I will whisper them and say, don't let them shit on your day. They are just being nasty. You're doing fine. Just, maybe do this next time, or try and stand here. Just watch out for this. It's just small things like that.
I like that, where you're encouraging the person who and the victim, but you're not giving fire to the troll. I like that.
I think it works better because I think we've all seen it. If you, even like in a dungeon, I've seen it, that people were just incredibly nasty and just ripping into someone. And if you would say something in chat, then it just puts more fire because they feel like they have to then defend their toxic behavior. So they just keep doing it more, or they then direct it to you, and no one really wants that anyway. I don't have time for that, to see that. I'm like, you're typing, you should be doing something else like tanking or DPS or healing. What are you doing? Stop typing. But I will take my time then to type to the person who was victimized, just because, I think we've all been at the end of that receiving stick. And I would just think to myself, would I feel better if someone would have said, no, you're doing fine, or, next time, just watch out for this, but you're doing okay, don't worry about it.
Absolutely. I was on a LFR run with a guildie, and they complained that I got a legendary in Legion. Thankfully, afterwards, my guildie said, okay, here's what I saw you doing. Here's how you can improve. That was helpful. I got productive comments, and my spec went up because of somebody reaching out to me on that one. And I think the troll, everybody wants to be heard, and I think the troll wants to be heard. It's the wrong outlet. It's the wrong way, but they're just not realizing. I've looked at, I wouldn't say that I have empathy for trolls, but I can understand that wanting to be heard, that wanting to hear it. Again, it's just the wrong outlet. It's the wrong way. It's the wrong reaction that they're looking for.
Oh yeah, and you know, I will be the first person who will say that I sometimes find the trolls funny. It depends what they say. Sometimes they can be incredibly funny. Not when they're really hurting someone, but some of the comments they make, I just find hilarious. But it's really just sometimes how it's been brought, and you know, it can be funny. And I will say that I've been there. I've never harassed someone. I can say that hand on heart. I've never been nasty to someone in chat like that or harassed someone. Have I lost my patience with people? Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all had bad days that we just lose patience, but I don't tend to say anything then. I'm just like huffing and puffing at my screen. Like, oh my God, why are you doing that? Just stop it. Stop dying. You know, things like that. But I would never take it out via keyboard. But yeah, I've been a bit of a troll at times when people were like trying to be super serious with stuff. And I thought, for goodness sake, it's just LFR. You know, just hurry up already.
If you're this serious, then do a normal heroic. You'll get better loot.
Yeah, exactly. And there are groups for that now. You can sign up for that. But you know, that's the wonderful game that is World of Warcraft. Now, we've already talked a little bit about, you know, going into other gaming, and you had a very interesting topic, which you know much more about than me. But I am very interested in discussing this with you. So you said you wanted to talk about the whole, is gaming going to the cloud and what kind of consequences would that have? Now, of course, I want to talk about in general what kind of consequences it has for the gaming industry, us as gamers, games themselves. So, you know, what kind of consequence would it have for a game like World of Warcraft or any MMO out there? So what can you say about this for people who are unfamiliar with the whole gaming to the cloud story?
So for the longest time in 2011, was trying to be all on board with the cloud gaming. And there was a service called OnLive that was gaming to the cloud, and you only needed a computer with like a client, or you needed a box hooked into a TV with an HDMI adapter. So it was running the game on a data center somewhere, and it's getting the input forward and back. And OnLive went out of business. Well, they were struggling with money. They then got bought out by Sony, and Sony has put them in with like the PS4 Remote Play and the PS Now. But there's been a resurgence in cloud gaming recently. Like GeForce Now has a system where you can pay per month to rent a computer somewhere. There's ones like I think Liquid's another one. Shadow is one. There's a big push, and we just saw at the Game Developer Conference, Google announced Stadia, which is their big streaming platform. I think that the industry is possibly moving to where you'll be able to play on a phone, a tablet, a computer, anywhere, and you won't need a super beefy computer. They'll just need a super beefy graphics card that can run on multiple instances. I mean, I do a lot of remote work where we all log into a computer with different things, and we're all on one computer. So
does that mean that, like, I'm trying to get my head around the whole concept. Would that mean then, you know, that the big gaming PCs would be basically nullified with that, but you would still have to have something like a box with like a graphics card and a connection?
Not as much the graphics card. You just need a solid connection to the internet and to that service. But you would plug in your controller, your mouse and keyboard into a box, and it can even be a PC, and you are sending whatever input you do to the box to that computer. It's rendering on its very powerful rig, and then sending you back what it's getting. So it's so not having to have a big computer that you spend all these thousands and thousands on. You pay somebody per month, and they then have an even bigger computer that everybody else is paying in on. So everyone's renting space and time on a machine.
Okay. What sort of like positives do you see like this for gamers?
I think the positive is then people can start gaming and not have to do that big investment. I bought a PC in October, and that was a big investment, and it was terrifying to do that. Before I was gaming on a Mac, and Macs are good for gaming, but not great. And it was one I put off a long time. So I think the benefit is people might get introduced to gaming, not having to pay big money for a console, not having to pay big money for a PC. And even if they don't continue on the cloud, they can at least try it out. Because I think people would love to try things out. I mean, I think in anything, if you can try something for very little money, there's a reason why free trials work so well. Is you try once, you can't stop. I'm still getting Quip refills. I love my Quip toothbrush, but they gave it to me for free, and so it worked. But I think so. The benefit is people who never thought they wanted to game can try games, and they can try things, a lot of different types of games. Because there's benefits on there. Benefits on you won't have to then upgrade every 5 to 10 years if you're gaming that way. And could you imagine? I mean, the Switch has done an amazing job. You can play anywhere. Could you imagine if you could play even more powerful games than what's on the Switch anywhere? I mean, there could be a time where you could be playing World of Warcraft on the train, as long as you have a good connection. Yeah.
That would be really, really interesting. So it makes gaming almost more accessible anywhere.
Yeah. And it makes it where even economically there is not that barrier.
Okay. What makes you say that? Just because of the price of the computers that we have to purchase nowadays for games?
Yeah, because I mean, there's a reason the console market, I think, is huge. Is it's easier to buy a console than to buy a machine. I mean, and I think that even consoles and gaming is still a luxury. It's definitely one that, time aside, you have to put in extra money that could go elsewhere. Yeah,
I would definitely agree with that. What would you see as like a negative if we would all, at a certain point, we're so many years into the future, and this is the form of gaming? What would be a negative?
One of the negatives, I would say, the most obvious, if that service goes out of business, like OnLive. I put money into OnLive. I bought games on OnLive. I have saves on OnLive. Once Sony bought it, all went away. So I've got a lot of money that's gone. So the service needs to be fundable. The service needs to be scalable, and people need to keep playing with it. I'd say a more immediate downside is the internet still sucks. It in so many places, the internet's not reliable enough. It's getting faster, but there are times where the internet's go down. I mean, when I'm streaming, sometimes I will get dropped frames, and it's like my ISP, who's supposed to be giving me this, at some point it's getting overloaded, and I get this. And that's a big thing with gaming. You need to be able to have latency at a pretty low level.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. That could have, for some of us. I mean, for myself, like when I lived somewhere else, before I got this house, our internet was pretty shit, in all fairness. And you couldn't get anything else, because even if I wanted to upgrade to the best one, the building didn't provide that. And, one of the things, I know this is so sad saying this, but when we started looking at this house to buy it, I actually went online to check my postcode to see if they did fiber optics here and if it was already enabled. And that was one of the things that I went like, yeah, no, we're good, honey. We're taking this. If we want this house, we can take it because we have fiber optics in this area. Oh,
absolutely. It's becoming one of those necessities to life. I mean, I'm looking at, like, when I stream, how many gigabytes I'm uploading to Twitch at any time. I'm like, whoa. I mean, and data caps. Do you have a data cap on yours?
Nope.
Which is good, but a lot of places have data caps because bandwidth is still precious. Or the company wants money. I know business is for profit, but there are some companies who they just want pure profit and they don't really care what it means to the customer.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't know if that's the same I know even like globally there's like a lot of differences. Like I know that the US works in a different way than Europe, for instance. Even within Europe, there are different ways of doing it. So that is also, I think, something that will be a bit of an issue to make sure that, you know, for some people it will be easier to do than for others.
Yeah, and you definitely need reliability. You need to have that constant connection to the internet. And like if your internet goes out one day, and if we're all gaming in the cloud, you aren't gaming at all. I mean, with WoW, if your internet goes out, then you aren't gaming, but you can still play other games. But if all your gaming is in the cloud, you're done.
Yeah, I can see shit hit the fan then at that point in time. I think a lot of people will not be happy with that.
Yeah.
Okay. How can you see this going towards World of Warcraft? Has Blizzard made any statements about what they want to do with this in the future, or? Yeah,
Alessander brought up an article from Flickstick. It's that in the EULA, Blizzard has banned cloud gaming. So at this point, you are not allowed to play WoW in the cloud, which makes you wonder what's the goal with that. I can see possibly they've done that because they want to vet a service before it's there, or they want to prevent people from botting or doing some nefarious things with that.
Mm-hmm. Can you see the game ever going to something like this? Would it be feasible?
Yeah, I absolutely could see it, because the same way how like the data right now is PTR is sharing the same data as the main game on the installer. I can see Blizzard having one copy of WoW that they update on a server somewhere, and everybody gets it. And one of the biggest benefits, I think, if WoW were to go to the cloud, that you would not have hackers intercepting that code between different things. So like botters couldn't like try to inject different code here and there. Everybody's playing on the same code and in raids. Could you imagine if everybody is being timed at the same time on every bit? All you're dealing with is what's the input and output you're receiving from the client. The client's not sending all this data and your input and output. And I could see, again, gaming on the go. I could see being at a Starbucks on a pulled out iPad or tablet and just gaming. You're playing WoW. You're doing all this stuff, but it's not taking battery off of your device. It's not requiring all that process. WoW would be probably one of those perfect games because it can be on a toaster and it can do all that. And
that would make things like LAN parties even easier.
Yeah. And then it would make people want to go to the LAN party and build that community connection. I mean, can you imagine BlizzCon if everybody's there on their phones, they're all waiting in line. Hey, well, we are in LFG right now while we're waiting for the battle.
That would be pretty amazing. I can definitely see like the benefits for it. I can also see that it could, still have some issues. Where are we at this point in time with cloud gaming?
We're definitely seeing a big push by Google Stadia. So Google will be probably by the end of this year. I was part of their project stream, so I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, all from a web browser. That was the most amazing thing. OnLive required a client to be downloaded to the PC. I was just logging into the Assassin's Creed, press play on my Google Chrome browser, and I was in. I could see the artifacts, so graphical fidelity is still not quite there, but I'm not a video file, I'm not an audio file, so I can deal with lower graphics. I mean, even when I play nowadays, I don't play at the ultra settings because of either streaming or if my computer can't handle it. So I think we are getting closer. Microsoft's unveiling their xCloud, and they said that I think watch E3, you will see where Microsoft's going. I've heard EA's doing stuff. Or already, again, there's Shadow and GeForce now. You just cannot play Blizzard games. I've heard people playing on both of those services on WoW. Just know Blizzard doesn't want it, and with all the time I put into my WoW account, I do not want to put it at jeopardy. That would be a lot of time and money. And maybe Activision has something in their sleeve, because they could one day roll out, hey, every Activision game can be played on the Activision cloud. I could see them doing that. And even streaming. Could you imagine if you're offloading all your streaming tech to somewhere? Because Google's going to do that with Stadia. Stadia, haven't heard about Twitch, so I don't know about that part. But they're going to offload. You can stream to YouTube straight from Stadia. That was one thing I loved about OnLive. I could stream to people when I was playing. I played Amnesia: The Dark Descent. In fact, that's a game I need to play again, because I need to beat that. I watched a friend play that. But you can stream any game on OnLive to anybody else, and it didn't affect your latency. So we're close. It's not quite there, but I think it's closer than we thought. I mean, who would have thought that we would have had streaming and stuff like that nowadays? Who would have thought that we would have had video calls? So the future's getting closer and closer.
That is very interesting. I'm very, very curious to see where that will go. Especially, I think, for Blizzard and World of Warcraft. I can see games like, I mean, Diablo is already quite mobile now with going to the Switch and everything, and with Immortal coming out. And then, I can see Overwatch definitely being played like that.
Yeah, I was playing Final Fantasy 14 on my PlayStation Vita because that had remote play. I was one time in Florida and my PS4 was in Ohio. I was playing Final Fantasy 14. Then I was also, where else was I? I was at another house playing Final Fantasy 14. I was doing the Titan. Oh, that fight. I still hate the Titan fight today. But I was doing the Titan fight on my PS4 Vita over the internet remotely. I mean, so it's definitely the future. That's what I love is I can game anywhere, and I didn't have to buy anything more than what I had on the Vita.
No, I completely agree, because I remember doing that with Elder Scrolls Online on my Vita, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was made to be like, that's at home, and I'm somewhere else, and I'm still playing the same game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Switch has proven that we want something that you can just take with you and wherever you want to play.
Oh,
Switch over.
What if Nintendo is doing a play for cloud gaming? Because I was reading that in Japan, they are actually doing one of the Assassin's Creed games on a cloud service. Could you see if they announced a new Switch that was cheaper and all it did was stream? You just need a data plan somewhere.
I can see them doing it. I mean, Nintendo they are so clever with what they're doing and how they're marketing things. And I think they are different enough from like the other two big consoles that we have, like the Xbox and the PlayStation, that they can make their own. But I think they definitely have, with the Switch, they have definitely made like such big movements, because they almost obliterated, well, they have obliterated the Vita.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
I remember I was listening to the Remaster podcast, which is a great gaming podcast, and they had somebody from Sony who said the Switch did what we always wanted, and I'm someday going to own a Switch. It's one of those, I keep trying to resist the urge, but I'm going to own a Switch. I mean, I've got an Xbox and a PC. Oh, and the Xbox. I've been streaming from my Xbox to my PC, and that's how I've been playing my Xbox. I don't have my Xbox hooked up to the PC. All over my local network. So I'm doing a local cloud gaming.
Yeah, and I think, you can see that with a lot of streamers. A lot of streamers do that nowadays. You have like your capture cards, so you can just have your PlayStation or your Xbox somewhere in the house, and you can still play and stream it via your computer, which I think is great nowadays. But I can see, technology is moving that way. And it would be so interesting to see how that would work with World of Warcraft, if only because I can see it with myself. Like, I have big screens just because everything needs to be crammed in it with all my hotkeys and everything that I have. So having that on something smaller, making it more mobile, that would be interesting.
Yeah. And it would really let you, again, play anywhere. We get rid of that time, because a lot of our time nowadays is traveling, is being somewhere else. And with autonomous cars, imagine if okay, now I'm going way into the future, but even autonomous cars are closer than we think. But yeah, can you imagine if you're driving down the road in your autonomous car, you're playing World of Warcraft over the internet on your device?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something scary. So, for those that don't know, my boyfriend works in a garage, and he has access to relatively new cars. And he got a car on loan to drive as his own. And that car, apparently you don't need to steer it because it can actually see what's going on the road.
Whoa!
And it has a camera on the front as well, so it can see what the road lines are, and it will see, like, you still have to pay attention just in case something unexpected happens. But he was holding his hands like away from the steering wheel, and it freaked me out. I was just like, no, I don't like it. Put your hands back. This is not how it should be. Just put them back.
Oh yeah, so some of the newer Hondas have that. I mean, I've seen someone where, like, if you're in traffic and it won't even let you move the wheel because it doesn't want you to go into the car next to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, the cars are getting smarter.
It definitely is. I mean, for me personally, I think it's great because then, in that sense, that you don't have to be difficult with parallel parking anymore. It just does it for you. But that driving on, like, the dual carriageway, that's the motorway for everyone in America. That does freak me out when you go really, really fast, and then you're not holding the steering wheel. I just find that creepy. Oh yeah,
someone showed me a picture of China with like 40 lanes went down to the 4 lanes after. Yeah, I'm thinking, oh wow. But if you could automate all that, and every car would be in a queue, and the cars would just go in at their queue and then let you resume driving, that would be so much easier. Well, and cars, I'm so glad that my car nowadays will at least watch if I'm getting too close to a driver. I had one time where I thought I saw ahead of me. My car said, "You are getting way too close. You need to you need to stop." I'm like, thank you. It was one of those cars are helping us and helping our weaknesses.
I think so. I think the computers are starting to take over with everything. But yeah, no, it is really interesting. And I think especially now when we don't have to do all of that and commuting will become different, then gaming will definitely become something that you could actually do on your commute to work or to school, or it's going to be interesting to see where this is going. Did you want to mention anything else about cloud gaming and the future of cloud gaming before I go to the final question?
I think I mentioned that I played on live. I used PS Now, so I enjoyed it. I saw the weaknesses in it, but even in the project stream, I see where it's going. And this is still major theory crafting. We're like at least like 5 expansions away from when this is going to be possible. If we're thinking like WoW theory crafting, so it's far away, but it's closer than we think. I mean, and Microsoft even said they're looking at probably bringing xCloud to. Oh, hey, look at that! There's a rumor from Gaming Bolt that Microsoft will probably bring xCloud to Nintendo Switch. They're already bringing Xbox Live to Nintendo Switch. So maybe Nintendo's being smart. They're like, hey, we won't develop it ourselves. We'll just let Microsoft develop it. And then what if Activision worked with Microsoft? And then Amazon is doing something. I that's what I wanted to say too, is with what Amazon's been done with Twitch, with all the stuff that Amazon has something up their sleeves. We just don't know what it is. I don't see them looking at this cloud gaming and not doing it, because what if it could really make Twitch a platform that would be, hey, we'll let you stream and play your games all from the cloud.
Yeah, I can definitely. I mean, Amazon is clever. They are so clever when buying Twitch and everything, and now with the whole linking of things, they are doing something really. I can't see them not doing anything with this.
And if you have Twitch, at least in the US, get the 3 months of Nintendo Online. That is through September.
Why am I not in the US?
Well, in the US we have Pandora Radio, which is what I use. It knows what I want to listen to. Man, I realized how much we have in the US that we take for granted.
I know. I think you guys need to think about that. And in all fairness, that's the same really for people in the UK with Amazon, compared to some of my other European friends who don't have anything like that. So I think, even being in the UK, we are quite blessed with what we have, really. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye on then.
And definitely don't play Blizzard games. I would strongly encourage, until Blizzard officially endorses it, save all your raid progress. Don't make Blizzard angry, please.
Yeah, don't risk your account, people. You don't want to do that.
I'm thinking like I would have to redo all my podcasts if I ever got banned by Blizzard.
God, no. Oh, that's horrible.
Well, I could go to Final Fantasy 14. I mean, because with all that they're bringing in Final Fantasy, that's a whole other podcast.
That's a very different podcast. But, again, I think like with any games out there, especially MMOs, I think we can all learn something from the other MMOs. I'm such a advocate for that, because I have at least 6 other MMOs icons on my desktop right now. So there's nothing wrong with seeing other things.
Oh, no. And one of the podcasts I loved to listen to was MMO Reporter, because they would talk about other MMOs, and I would hear how are they doing that? Okay. And seeing what they're doing in Final Fantasy 14, I'm like, please, Blizzard, can you do some of the stuff? Like I know somebody who would love the Vulpix and Allied race because of some of the, because now there's bunnies and foxes in Final Fantasy 14.
I know. I need to get onto that. I really need to get onto that again. All right, Frazley, thank you so much for all of that, because that was really, really interesting. If people want to hear more about you and the podcasts that you do, or even Twitch, where can they find you?
I've tried to make it really easy. So if you go to Frazley.com, Frazley.com, you can see everything there. But if you don't know how to spell Frazley, go to gnomepodcast.com, and then from there you can find everything as well. That
is really clever. I like that. Okay, thank you so much for being a guest again. I really love talking to you.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on. I enjoy talking with you, and it's weird to even this time realizing how different I am from that. So in the future, imagine how different I'll be. We'll be talking about how our autonomous cars are now beating us in StarCraft next time.
You know what? Let's do it. In 5 years, we're going to talk about that.
That's good. How my car all the way home was telling me it's better at StarCraft than I am, and it beat me when we got home.
You know what? I'm going to make notes for that then. Sounds good. So it was lovely talking to Frazley again, and I hope that you enjoyed this interview. Of course, you guys had a lot to say about cloud gaming, and if you wanted to see that in Blizzard games or World of Warcraft, and this is what you guys said on Twitter. Ryan said, I think if any company has the potential to do it, it would be Blizzard. Blizzard has been doing a game, WoW, that has both local and streamed content, now for almost 15 years. Their servers are fast and have great connections. I think they could actually pull it off. It would be interesting to see Blizzard do it. Don't know if they want it because of all the things that Frazley said. But yeah, I mean, they are a big company. They might be able to do it. Old Grove said, I would pet battle on my phone. Now that's not a bad idea. I hope that they do something like that. So that would be really cool. Steel Sock said a big flat out nope. Okay, clear enough. Flame Flash, cloud, not for me. Internet wouldn't support it. Mobile, see above, and the personal need for a keyboard and mouse. Okay, that's I think a fair point, that you would have to have a keyboard or a mouse. Not everyone likes to do the sort of console gaming or do it on a mobile, so yeah, I get that. And we've discussed it, Frazley and I, that with the whole internet, that could be a big issue for a lot of people, I think. Not until they've cleared that up. Frazley actually mentioned this again on the internet and said, I do want this to happen. I think it sounds really cool and would love to not have to upgrade my computer as long as my network connection supports it. Yeah, computer upgrades, that's a big thing. I can talk about that when I had to change some of my fans and graphics cards. It's not cheap. Kai Sharky Boy said it could be a cool idea, although I think the technology for smartphones would need to improve in functionality to make it work. I agree. I think we will have to have the top range of smartphones for some of it. And Marty said, I'm not techie when it comes to building computers or looking at specs, so cloud gaming looks really interesting to me. I think it's still very new, but looking at it with interest. And I think we all do that. So we shall see what the future brings for us. If it goes to cloud, we probably have to change a lot of things, but we will see what happens, you know. A few years ago, VR was something that was so expensive and only for the elite, and now slowly on, it's starting to change that way. Still haven't purchased anything like that. I am not very good with VR. It makes me really sick, so not for me, I think. Not for now. Right, I'm going to end the show with a short bit of guild drama, and this one is from Heather. She said, I was in a guild that semi-raided. I always streamed our raids to go back and look to see what I did wrong or could do better. The guild lead was a bitch. Her husband wasn't an officer, but because he was her husband for special treatment. This was one of those multi-gaming communities that was huge, so only the GM had any real rights. Anywho, raid night comes and the guild leader couldn't come, but her husband showed up. Decided it would be quote-unquote fun to talk shit to some of the raiders. I'm talking really being mean to them. What can I do right? So a few of us told him, yo man, not cool. He's like, who's going to believe you? So I'm like, dude, I'm streaming. He left the channel. Wife gets online and kicks me out of the guild before I can report her shitty husband. Needless to say, half the raid team left after that. We still joke about that guild and how horrible they are. Oh dear, that's really bad. That's really... I don't understand that people go, oh, who's going to believe you? How childish is that? So, yeah, at least, you know, you had proof with the whole streaming. I'm all for husband and wife guilds, absolutely. But I don't think that it should give you preferential treatment. So you shouldn't be acting like a douche. That's as simple as I think it should be. But maybe I just think too black and white. I don't know. Anyhow, that's it. A long show, long interview, which I really enjoyed. I always like the longer shows. I hope you guys do too. Thank you again for downloading and for sharing any tweets. I really appreciate that. And if you want to know more about the show, you can go to whispersofwar.podbean.com. On Twitter, you can find me at whispers_of_war, or my personal one, which is at McMonkeys with a Z. And the email, whispersofwarpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send me some guild drama or any other big stories, you can always do that there. If you want to be a guest, I would love to have you on. You don't have to be a podcaster, you don't have to be a quote-unquote celebrity. If you're just a player, that is enough for me. I love to talk to everyone. As long as you have an interest in World of Warcraft, that's enough for me. So, you know, let me know. Have a lot of fun, guys, in the game, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye!